Hope you had a great time with sports, with Ival and Eastern Circle with Adezi and Michael. I did promise you a very deep conversation this beautiful morning, and of course, trust that would always fulfill our promise. It is assumed that for many years, when people hear about Abia State, what follows is either a complaint, a sigh, or uh, what is it about the state? We even hear people murmuring that they've not been blessed with a good governor. And sometime in 2023, there was jubilation everywhere, and it was assumed that, okay, yes, we've got a governor of our choice who is going to bring development and all of the beautiful things that other states probably do enjoy. But then it's 2 years, May 29 will make it officially 2 years, and uh, celebrating 2 years in office, and it's time for us to assess to see how well this particular savior has done. I'm going to use the word savior, which is how some persons do describe the governor, talking about Governor Alex Otti of Abia State. And of course, this morning, there are a lot of issues that we're going to be discussing. Is he truly the savior of Abia State? Has he really done the things that he's been said to have done, or is it just what we see in the media, or it's just one side of what people want you to see, as well as some of the controversies regarding to the government house, where the governor did say that his predecessor unveiled and launched a government house that was not complete. We'll be answering and talking about some of these issues, as we also have a report on that as well, where the Alex Otti administration did say some things regarding to that, saying that this was how they met it. And we also hear that they're about to convert the government house to a hotel. That is something we're going to be touching. So these and many more we're talking about on the show this morning. Most importantly, assessing 2 years in office of Governor Alex Otti. And I do have a guest with me in the studio this morning who will be joining us to trash out all of these things in the person of Mr. Eric Iwagu. He is the publicity secretary of the PDP, Abia State. And of course, we're going to be assessing 2 years in office. It's so great to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You are very, very serious. Like, there's a whole lot of things you just want to unpack off.
We're going to have a beautiful conversation.
Of course.
Very lively, to the facts.
I love the facts. So if you're ready for the facts, not about emotions, but the fact, I think this is where you are supposed to be. So let's start with 2 years in office. We've seen a lot of things flying around on social media. Oh, he's the savior of Abia State. There are a number of areas which I would want you to speak on in terms of infrastructure, in terms of roads, in terms of civil service reforms and salary payment. Some persons have argued that there was not regular salary infrastructure in Abia State before he's come in, and he came in and he did some things to on that. There are people talking about how Abia State can breathe again after being suffocated by PDP. Do you share the same opinion?
Well, I am going to talk about the real Abia. You know, there is this mindset that the governor has, and one thing you give him credit for is the use of the media. He knows how to use the media. So there is the real Abia, and there is the social media Abia there. So I'm going to talk about the real Abia, where you have over 15,000 sacked workers, okay, who were sacked for no just cause. I'm going to talk about the Abia where permanent secretaries, an era of permanent secretaries were summarily dismissed for no just cause. I'm going to talk about the Abia where pensioners were forced to forfeit or tricked into forfeiting their whole entitlement. So I'm going to talk the real Abia where, till date, the minimum wage is still not fully implemented the way it should be. I'm going to talk about the Abia where contracts are over-bloated. I'm going to talk about the Abia where you find a conflict of interest, you know, when it comes to the bank the governor established and running of the state. So I'm going to talk about the Abia where we have a governor who says employment is not his priority. I'm going to talk about the Abia that has earned over 700 billion, while you do a 200-meter road and you blow it out of proportion and you expect the gullible to fall for it. So I'm going to expose the Abia where we have over 400 billion in non-existent projects, but has been written away by the state government as published by their AG on what they call the SEPSAS. There's this World Bank program that sees that quarterly states publish their financials on their state. So if you go there on quarterly basis, you will see the performance reports as published by the Abia State government. So I'm going to talk about that Abia, not the Abia you see on social media that every influencer in Nigeria today runs to the bank or credit to Abia State government. I'm not going to talk about the Abia where they exaggerate things about what is happening there. I'm going to talk about the Abia that businesses are closing down. I'm going to talk about the Abia where radio stations hardly stay open. Where the Abia they told us that run from 6 o'clock to 7, but today Abia is perpetually asleep. That's the Abia I'm going to talk about and do my analysis on the backdrop of a man who has received over 700 billion. That is the Abia I want to talk about. That is the Abia that people feel the pain, not the Abia on social media. So once you drive into Abia, you're greeted with what they call the 7-lane boulevard. I'm going to talk about that kind of Abia, where opacity is the front policy of government. That is the Abia I'm here to talk about. Now, if you check what is happening in states, let me give you this close analogy so that we'll put it in proper context. You know, the governor of the governor of Imo and Anambra, due to this staggered nature of the election, has had some part of their tenure under Buhari.
Yes.
Then now they are under Tinubu. You will agree with me, I don't know your assessment, that Anambra State governor, in the first 2 years of his they said, was lackluster. It was abysmal. His performance was low. Now today, we see another Soludo on fire. What is happening? Because the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria freed up resources for these governors to work with. So there's no governor in Nigeria that should complain about resources. Yes. And that is what is the bane, or what was the bane of majority of the governors of yesterdays. The governors of today need to show what they have done with the humongous allocation that gets to them. Now, let me tell you, once you go to the pump price to buy fuel, once you go to the market to buy a bag of rice, from 15,000 to 100,000, that extra you're paying on top is the money these governors are having in their coffers. They are in custody of this money. And I ask, what do they do with it? So I'm going to talk about the Abia, why the welfare of the people is not a concern of the governor, or rather, over-bloated contracts. Could you agree with me, or do you believe that the Port Harcourt Road, which seems to be his only signature project, because I heard he's inviting the president to come and commission a 5.6 kilometer road that is done as 36.5 billion. I don't expect the president to be there to identify with such recklessness. It's financial recklessness. Let me tell you why I say that. That Port Harcourt Road, which is assuming larger than life now, which they want to town as what the man has done that nobody can do in this life, is a road that was under reconstruction. The last government of Dr. Kezi Mazu did about 40% of that road. You know, in road construction, you have the design work, you have the removal of the loose air, loose soil, debris, dirt that packed on that road for years. So this governor did a lot to remove it, expanded the road. Somehow, he couldn't finish it. Government is a continuum, right? So he took over. Even before taking over government, he already took the Julius Berger to that site. And at that point, the chairman of Julius Berger was the chairman of his bank, the Signature Bank. And of today, at that point, before May 2023, Signature Bank had only 2 branches. Today, we're talking about 14 branches all over across Nigeria. So I am pleading that the EFCC to investigate what happened within the 2 years that a struggling bank that could hardly maintain 2 branches is about 14 branches. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just laying the background. I'm just saying they should investigate that to find out. ICPC, the NSFIU should all look into it and find out, is there any possible class of interest, conflict of interest somewhere? Now, so Julius Berger gets into the road. We were told it was 32 billion before, and we were told it was going to last for 18 months, sorry. So within the life of an existing contract, you reviewed it and added it to 36.6 billion. Whereas Julius Berger, that is doing Calabari Road in River State, is about 1.6 billion. The federal government awarded a road contract in Omahia, a great trunk A road, at less than 1 billion. And it's only in Abia, under Governor Alex Otti, that he's doing a road for 6.5 billion a kilometer. It's a record, the most expensive road in Africa. So that's the kind of Abia I want to talk about. See, the man on the street may not understand the figures. So while you want to entertain people who do not understand figures, we are looking at the prudency in managing the resources of Abia. You have humongous resources to your credit. And we have seen Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, do wonderful things under the 2 years of President Tinubu. We have seen the governor of Enugu State, who entered the same time, commission projects, gigantic projects. Even Solude, I'm talking about, was proud to exhibit 8 huge projects. Now, what will the governor of Abia say showcase to President Tinubu if he comes? A 5.6 kilometer road that was run at 6.5 billion naira kilometer. So it beats my imagination that a governor that has received over 700 billion cannot be able to show us, apart from 200-meter road and some part job somewhere. That is my own palace. Part job somewhere. You know, he has not done any fresh road. He's trying to, you know, just like what happened during the, I must have to do this analysis so you understand me. There's this psychology. When a man has nothing to show, he will face his predecessor. Just like President Buhari did when he came into office. It was about Jonathan. Nigerians gave him, there was a lot of jubilation, like we had in Abia State, that, you know, PDP was a bad government, PDP was a bad party. They are happy to have President Buhari. So people gave him a blank check, right? So whatever thing he was doing, it was about Jonathan. 4 years, 8 years. Where are we today? The kind of debt he has dropped off, that is what the president is trying to dig out from.
Okay.
So,
now that, sorry to cut you, but now that we are speaking on roads, it is being reported that the Abia State governor, since coming in 2 years now, he has been able to attend to about 40 roads, and he has also reconstructed some, which is across Aba, Umuahia, Ohafia, and surrounding towns, including the Umuma, Kent College Road, Urat, and MCC by Okigwe Road. So it is being said that he has attended to, aside from the one you're talking about, which is to be commissioned on the 23rd, where the president is going to be in Abia State. That's some of the areas when it comes to roads, and that the governor has attended to. Do you think this is a wrong report?
I am talking about a governor who has received over 700 billion, for Christ's sake.
So,
every governor is elected to work.
So you think all of this doesn't
me 200 meters road. There is no road you mentioned here that is above 200 meters. There is no road you mentioned here that is above 200 meters. So I'm looking at the 700 billion he has received under almost 24 months. And the 200-meter roads he's talking about, mere resurfacing of roads, whereas in Enugu State, that entered the same time. And, you know, he complained about the infrastructural stock of the state that it was low when he came in. Do you know it is when the infrastructural stock of the state is low that what you see, what you do will be visible? Do you know that? He will have a lot of things to show because you met at ground zero, right? That is the only time you could show what that the effect of what you're doing could be visibly seen. Now, this is a governor that has written off over 400 billion of other people's money in doing 6.5 billion recreational facility. We still ask for the location of that. He's a governor that has spent 10 billion in capacity building. Now, the recent is that he has spent 54 billion in renovation of schools. They are nowhere. We talk about health centers. This one, they are painting roofs. Where will you see any health center that can compensate for the billions that have been expended on that? We're talking about a governor that came to tell us that he has cleared 9 years arrears of whatever that is owed the pensioners.
So you mean the reports about him equipping these hospitals about 15 primary health care that is not realistic?
This government is about propaganda. I tell you, there's an Abia on social media and the Abia in reality. And I'm talking about the Abia in reality. See, they love media a lot, then they love pictures. If they have this, they would have been throwing it up everywhere. But because they don't have it, and I'm asking, where is the 54 billion that the government spokesman told us on air that the governor has paid up front and no shovel has been deployed to site, and has paid a contract of 54 billion. So that's the question we're asking. So we're asking about the 5 billion the governor spends quarterly in servicing his own private residence, whereas he would have used the time to go to where they have the new government house. And remember, let me tell you, where that building is strategic. You know, they have the 3-arm zone. Where houses the legislator, the head of the legislator, the executive, and the judiciary. It's a 3-arm zone. So you just wake up one morning and say you're going to convert that to a 5-star hotel. We are still hearing about the 5-star hotel he's promising Abians to do at Owaza till today. That Owaza Park is still a pipe dream. We're still talking about a governor that said he's going to transform a 5-star hotel at Abia Hotels till today. It's still story. We are still talking about a governor that says he's going to. So, you say about 5-star hotels? What about ICT hub? He has spent over 4.7 billion in ICT infrastructure, quote unquote, based on the state's physical transparency, accountability, and sustainability, SafeTAS. From that record, you see that these monies have been spent on projects we do not see. And we keep asking, please, Anambra State government showcase their recreational facility. Where about that of Abia you have spent 6.5 billion on? That's what we are talking about. We are talking about the Abia where the governor couldn't mention the multinational national that was cutting tree at Okwa and said there was a Owerenta rice. And we asked, where is the Owerenta rice? How much was expended? Because for you to even agree to go into cultivation of rice at Owerenta that is not known for production of rice. You know, there was this soil testing and mapping that was done by the premier, that found the rice belt to be around Bende, Ozua, Kolisukwato area. That is where you have the arable land for cultivation of rice. Now, the governor came on air and said that he has spent a lot in cultivating rice at Owerenta. That is known for arable land for tubers, yam, cassava. Now, because he doesn't know the Abia he's ruling, he said there's Owerenta rice. And we asked him, where is Owerenta rice? How much of Abia's money did you invest in that Owerenta? They said, and what is expected yield? You know, he was asked what is the tonnage. He said it's too early. We are looking at projection, for Christ's sake. If you write a proposal to set up this studio, I should be able to tell you in 1 year we should be having so and so. We should be having 1,000 viewership based on this. So that was what was expected of him, and not to tell us no. This government is about it's about propaganda and zero on substance. He would have been able to tell Rufai that okay, the expectation is within 9 months, within 10 months, we have so and so improve seedling, so and so we are expecting so and so. And he said it's too early. I'm talking about the Abia governor that doesn't know his IGR figure, that doesn't even know what he receives. In fact, he said it is small. To what extent? I'm still talking about the Abia, that workers are still being owed as we speak. But we spend a quantum of Abia's resources on air talking about things that are not real. Now, could you believe, to sum it up, do you believe that this governor wrote off entitlements of pensioners and went on air? Oh, it was all over social media that he has cleared 9 years salary arrears. If not, there was a pushback by these elderly people, including my mom, who would have believed that the reality, because they do not have the voice, he has all the powers to the media, he has everything. So what they are hearing out there, that he has cleared 9 years arrears and the praise they were everywhere on social media, but the reality is, he intentionally owed them for 10 months. Paid them the 10 months he's owing them.
Okay.
And now trickishly asked them to write off that. What stops him from saying, okay, these people were magnanimous enough to forfeit their allowances, but I have spent 17 billion. So because the quarterly report is showing us that he has spent 17 billion in offsetting the entitlement, that is where you see that lie come on. What would be the big deal in telling us that, sorry, they asked me to write off and I've written it off. Okay? But to come to tell us that you have paid off 9 years, that is deception. And that's what this government is known for.
Okay, so now, while you were speaking, several times deception came into your sentence. The Abia that people are not seeing versus the one that is being portrayed on social media. Now, it is being given credit to the governor that for accountability and for transparency purpose, he introduced the media chat, regular media chat. So, looking at the number of issues that you have raised now, talking about the real Abia, in this media chat, why are these questions not being brought to the fore? Is it that the people are not aware of these, or there's just been a propaganda and a ploy to just cover things up?
Have you listened to that media chat before?
Yes.
There's always accreditation. Okay? So they allow friendly journalists to walk in. You're a journalist, you understand the brown envelope language. So you allow friendly journalists to come in. There was a time one of the radio station managers, was bold enough to ask about, what about the 6.5 billion recreational facility? The governor took offense, he was visibly offended. And he told the guy that he is disappointed that he would veer to that aspect. There is no substance. What you see, a bunch of journalists, majority of them, who are looking for a way to get by. And what happened in Abia is, journalists are really looking for a way to get into the government, to report the government issue, because the government is concentrated on outside media, not the ones at home. So now, where they struggle, so the only opportunity you even see to cover the governor, it will be difficult to ask tough questions. That is why if you want to do a real media chat, there are presenters you could go to, and they ask you hard questions, very tough questions. Just like, you see the questions Rufai asked him. He was jumping from there to there. Nothing of substance came up. Like a governor that has spent 24 months in office was still complaining that the topmost floor of a 2-story building was not plastered and has been in receipt of 700 billion. So what's stopping him? Does he believe that government is just for you to enter? Now, if there are liabilities left, there are still assets that could compensate for any liabilities that are there. This governor told Rufai that he's not in any way probing his predecessor. But I can tell you that there is a panel set up by this governor to probe his predecessor on recovering of government property.
When was this panel?
It's still sitting as we speak.
Okay.
In fact, the last message that came from them is that it was wrong for the former governor or government to send other citizens to China to study law. Whereas we had about 159 children, kids, who are there studying medicine, studying all manner of ICT-related programs. But they didn't want to talk about that. So if a governor is intentional about vindictiveness, that is why that word deception comes in. Every governor of this era, including the governor of Kano, that had a very toxic relationship with Ganduje, has moved on. You're talking about what have you done for your people? Not about, at any time you're asked. Remember, a 30-minute interview with Rufai ended up spend about 20 minutes talking about his past. If you have enough to tell the other people, you look into the camera and talk about what you have recorded. And not always going back to talk about the governor didn't do this, he didn't plaster. It is ridiculous to talk about not plastering a floor. That was the reason why it has not entered. But I'm telling you, there are some other underlying factor. Now, the question is, you are comfortable in your private residence, and every other 3 months you spend about 5 billion in servicing that office. When you leave, all those installations, the security equipment and all those things that are installed there, is it going to come back to other people? Because by law, you have only 8 years to stay there. So it's not going to be there forever. So who is taking stock of those installations they are putting there in the name of other people? So that's why we say it is wrong to remain in your home and run Abia. Because the expenses you're doing there, they're supposed to be other people's expenses. But you're raking it up and you're improving your own infrastructure. Because every other quarter report that comes out, you see humongous amount being spent in servicing the governor's office.
Talking about humongous amounts, there were some allegations sometime in 2023 that the governor was spending about 927 million for feeding.
Yes. It's still based on that quarterly report. We have even moved, that one is even little, based on what we're talking about 6.5 billion in recreational facility. Now, every day, do you know what they told people? That civil servants, on our rise, they said that civil servants should reduce the way they eat. And I'm wondering, which civil servants do they feed? It was an average of 2.5 million daily on feeding in government house. It's among us. So that is the idea they wouldn't tell you. The only idea they will tell you is the one they have published, they have, the propaganda they will package and sell out there. Sometimes you'll be surprised to see some airports that they brandish to be Abia Airport. Now, it's a governor that said that he's not probing his predecessor. But he commissioned KPMG to do a process review, which he christened audit report, a forensic audit review. At the end of the day, what happened? It was still the same audit finding, his review, that found out 3.4 billion was left in the coffers of the governor. That 24 billion was a near cash instrument based on stamp duty was left for this government. And that Abia has equity investment in geometrics, about $3.8 million. These are areas they wouldn't want you to know. But they want you to believe that he met a dead Abia and he's resurrecting Abia. And I'm telling you, there is no road into Abia that was not done by the government of Dr. Kezipazu. Okay. There is no road, the economic roads, that leads to any major market that was not done by Dr. Kezipazu. So what has he done? To do some 200-meter road and blow it out of proportion? Come on, we're not going to take that.
Let's go to this much talked about government house, which has been in the news for some time now. And then we will touch briefly on the suspension. I'm sure you saw the news that broke out last week of suspending the governor for anti-party activities. We'll touch on that as well. But let's start out on let's focus right now on the government house, because it keeps reoccurring the conversation. So this government house, he did have an interview and he said the government house was not properly done. It was not habitable. comfortable, it's not this and that, and that he's going to be converting it to a 5-star hotel. And it's mixed reactions for some persons. Why should you do that? Well, his team also came out, which we have the report, come out to say that, oh, this is the state of the government house, this is their plans for the government house. And I'm definitely sure you want to see the report, the words of the information man, what he had to say. Let's have that report, and then we'll be right back.
Speaking to journalists during a site visit, the State Commissioner for Information, Prince Otti Kano, addressed the controversy surrounding the property, noting that the environment surrounding the new government house is not secure for use as a governor's residence, emphasizing that the current administration is focused on peace and is not pursuing any confrontations with the past administration.
They misused the resources of the state to put up this gigantic edifice that is meant to achieve nothing, so to speak. This place is not habitable. And like I did say, the real residential area for the governor is not yet built. It's somewhere out there. Maybe I'll take you out there to see it. And if you look around the government house, the way it's situated, you could see a lot of the buildings are around here looking into this place. So from the point of view of security, this place is not even an ideal place for a governor to live in. You could see the topography of the area, vis-a-vis the houses around here. And it could pose a serious security risk, assuming a governor were to live here. So at the onset, His Excellency had imagined looking at this place and said, no, we won't come here to waste Abia resources. Let's focus on areas that will affect, make more impact on the citizenry. But the happy news today is the fact that His Excellency has directed that a new government house be built where the old government house is situated.
Prince Kano reviewed that instead of serving as the governor's residence, the new government house would now be converted into a 5-star hotel aimed at boosting the state's tourism industry, while clarifying that the old government house, which the past administration claimed to have been paying rent for, is actually government property and not leased.
The old government house is situated. And let me debunk another lie. Before now, they said that old government house, was a rented apartment. It was not a rented apartment. That property was duly acquired by Abia State government. But those people who were in office before now were busy paying themselves rent from government coffers, deceiving the public that they were paying rent for a government house. They were not paying any rent. That property belongs to Abia State government. The government of the day has decided to turn this place into a 5-star hotel.
The commissioner reassured the public that Governor Otti's administration is committed to transparency, development, and efficient management of state resources, redirecting the focus away from political tensions and towards progress in Abia State. From Umuahia, Michael Odermana reporting for Rapid TV News.
All right, you heard it there. That is from Prince Otti Kano talking about the government house. Mr. Eric, you heard it for yourself. How are you going to react to that?
Well, to the Honorable Commissioner, maybe, the governor runs a government where he is everything, all and all. I don't think the commissioner even knows that his governor has received over 700 billion in federal allocation. If he has known that, he wouldn't be talking about a governor who has spent almost 24 months in office and unable to fix that. Is he expecting to not have any liability, as I say? There are issues you handle as a governor. You have your own demons and devil in government. So those are part of what you should fix. If he even understands that his governor has pulled down all the buildings in Asokoro governor's residence and erecting 5 gigantic structures at a go at very humongous cost, he will be surprised while he's comfortable at his own residence without fixing that. And I'm saying it's not even up to the governor to convert a 3-armed zone. So it is by the law of Abia State that made that place a government area. It was restricted to solely to house the government establishment, the head of the judiciary, that of the legislature, as I said before, and that of the executive. He can't even convert that place to a hotel. And I'm asking, what feasibility did he do? Does he understand what it means to run a five-star hotel? That little building that is not good for the inhabitants of a governor, but is good for five-star hotel. Is that not contradictory? Is that not telling you that these people live on propaganda? Is that not clear case of propaganda? Now, a governor has received 700 billion. He's showing us the lift as part of an unfinished building. And they allowed that place to dilapidate for over 24 months. Oh, getting to 24 months now. And you come back to say, if you leave this place uninhabitable, this place will degenerate.
Yes.
Because molds will start building up on the walls. So that place was left to be looted, and now they are coming back to show you. So why didn't they do it? The money he spent on a Sokoro building should have fixed that place. So he has moved from, it was not plastered, to security concerns. And I'm telling you, he has to go back to the House of Assembly to change the Use Act that restricted that place to be a government facility before he can even convert it to whatever five-star hotel. It is a mockery to Ndiabia that this man wakes up one morning, says something, and believes we are all dumb, we will buy it. That is what he's selling to Abians now. We know he believes when they have five-star hotel, 6-lane road, everybody will go crazy. But people will interrogate the numbers. People will interrogate how much is spending, how visible is it even to convert that place. And what is that telling us? That he's going to build a new government house. And we have this worry of opacity, of lack of accountability. If you ask them for any cost of any road, they will refer you to the ministry. And I have written severally on Freedom of Information Act, and nobody responds to me. So once you add them, it is the same governor that will go to River State to commission a road whose cost of construction is known, whose length of construction is known, whose the contractor doing it is known. But you come to Abia, and once you ask, he will tell you to go to ministry to find out. And when you go to the ministry, you know what happens there? They will kill your application based on FOI. So it is all about deceiving the people. It's about propaganda. That is what we have been fed, and that is the reality now. Now, if he's going to do reconstruct or construct a new government house, what would be the process, the due process in getting that contract awarded? You will find out that before you know it, somebody appears somewhere and he's doing the job. Nobody asks about the cost of it. He even is quoting the cost of that particular building, but his own cost you will not know. So how will a governor be hiding costs of projects and expect the people to be happy? Now, for me and others who are discerning, we want to know before you will applaud a particular project, it is the cost that confers value. Okay, like these are beautiful glasses now. If you tell me you bought it for ₦1 million, I'll be like, wow, it's too expensive, right? But if you tell me you went somewhere and bought it for 20,000, I'll say, wow, wonderful. Now I appreciate it more because it wasn't so expensive and it's this beautiful. But if it is so expensive, it will kill that beauty that I would have given to the glass. That is the same thing the governor wants us to forget about the cost and glory on 200-meter road. Some are even less than 200 meters. At what cost? So going by his 6.5 billion benchmark, it means for every kilometer of road constructed in Abia taxpayers are paying 6.5 billion. Until he comes out to tell us it is not 6.5. I am still saying that at least the ones we know, he has told us with his own mouth that it is 6.5. I will hold on that every kilometer of road or meter of road he did in Abia is on the template of 6.5 billion. Until he comes out to tell us otherwise.
All right, Mr. Eric. From everything that we've talked about, it is very clear that the people of Abia State have some very important, pertinent questions that they need to ask the governor. One of such questions is regarding to the government house. If the house is not inhabitable due to security reasons and the environment, how then will it be comfortable if it's made a 5-star hotel? Who is going to go live in, or go reside or lodge in a 5-star hotel where the environment is not secure? These are things that need to be answered. Or is it also going to take care of the issue of security around the area? And also, my guest has mentioned a number of issues when it comes to the amount being used to fund things in the state. I think the governor and his people need to answer the question of, is this all that the money was used for? Or maybe there is more that is not known to the public. Maybe, just maybe, these billions that we are hearing were used for other important things that they probably forgot to let the media know about it. Maybe, just maybe. All right, let's look at the issue of fraud. He did say in an interview that his predecessor committed fraud while he was also speaking about the uncompleted government house. How would you want to respond to that? And also, I also wanted to touch on, okay, let's start with the aspect of what he said about his predecessor committing fraud. That's a huge allegation there.
It's a governor that knows how to use language or words not befitting for the office he's occupying. And if it comes to the issue of the 10 billion airport, as I said, which was what he was referring to as fraud, he has written countless petitions to the EFCC against his predecessor. And if is that a fraud, will the contractor, the major contractor in that 10 billion, remember it was for airport project, which was later the purpose of the loan was changed to construction of roads. So the major contractor in that particular arrangement, that was contract financing, okay? The major contractor, Ferrotex, is still being retained by Otti today. So if that contractor was involved in fraudulent activities with Okezie Ikpeazu, will this particular governor bring him back to work for him as his #1 contractor? It's impossible. This particular Ferrotex is all over the place working for Abia State governor. So that is to tell you that he is doing something on the ground and saying something else. Because if I'm involved in fraud, for Christ's sake, I'm coming to Rapid to work. Maybe I was found to be fraudulent in another station. You wouldn't employ me, you wouldn't engage me.
Yes.
So for him to have even engaged Ferrotex, meaning he was not trying to do media trial. Meanwhile, you have written countless petitions to EFCC. This particular Ferrotex, the owner of the Ferrotex, went to EFCC with his total document showing that the contract was awarded and he did them creditably well. In fact, it was because of how credible the man is that made Alex Otti retain him now. He's still working for the state governor. So he worked for Okezie Ikpeazu on that 10 billion and he's working for you, a man who was fraudulent. Does it not? You need to check what this governor says. So that's why you see me consistently use the word deception, propaganda, lies. He's all big on propaganda and lies. That is to say that if Okezie Ikpeazu is fraudulent and he engaged a fraudulent contractor, that fraudulent contractor should be facing the law and not working for you. But because you found that this Ferrotex man is credible, he discharged his job very well, he did very quality job for the state, that is why you retained him. And so he went to EFCC, under 1 hour, he was let go off the hook, and they gave him a clean health bill of health. So, likewise, every other contractor that was involved, they've all gone there. And so, if you are giving something to the law, why not pull back? Because he knows he has the control of the media. He knows how to manipulate people. He has thrown it back on the media to try. Just like what we got under Buhari, you know, instead of you to show account of your stewardship, you are referring to your, under 30 minutes, you weren't able to show anything you did for others. Ikpeazu this, Ikpeazu that, Ikpeazu that. And we're talking about 700 billion for Christ's sake.
All right. As we get set to wrap up, let's quickly touch the issue of, in a statement, Alex Otti has referred to Abure as a clown looking for crown. This is in the wake of the suspension report that came through last week that they were suspended himself and other persons, Wetikingigbe and the rest, for anti-party activities. I'm sure you saw that report, and when you first heard, what did you think of?
See, as a public commentator, I followed up the matter. You know, our party too, we had similar issue when it comes to the national secretaryship.
Yes.
So the same thing played out in Labour when it comes to their chairmanship. And all what the Supreme Court simply did is, they didn't announce anybody, chairman. Go take this thing back to your party and resolve
it.
So, because it's kind of confusing, the different opponents in that matter took to social media and other media to say they've won the case. But look at the proper thing there. What the Supreme Court simply said is, go back to status quo. So what is status quo? They had an Unewi convention. And remember, Governor Alex Otti and his followers are all new in Labour Party. Abure has been in that party. And if you are going to use my platform, you know, to ascend to political office, and you want to push me out from a house I've suffered to hold for you, then I'll say no as an individual. So Abure wrote to INEC, and they gave him the 21 days that is expected in the Electoral Act. So the issue was about time, venue. So he changed the venue from Umuahia to Nnewi. So the governor sent his deputy governor to go and represent him. Because just the two of them are members of the NEC. The constitution they have is different from the one Otti is used to, because it has moved from ABGA. So you don't even know the constitution he's talking about. Is it the ABGA constitution or the PDP constitution? Now, he will foment trouble and look for who to blame. Now look at the kind of wars he's losing for Abure. Now, Abure had issues with INEC because INEC refused to allow him to participate in the program they were doing prior to the Ondo election, right? Now, you're supposed to stand with your party man against INEC. Immediately, while Abure went to court, this governor went to do a replacement. That is the genesis of this problem. So if he had waited for Abure to finish up the matter he had in court,
yes.
which automatically the court ruled in Abure's favor. Do you know that if the governor didn't do that stakeholders meeting and find a place to replace him, there won't be any problem in Labour Party. So he is a troublemaker, moving around, but rather chose to look at Abure as a bad person. The same thing he's doing to Okezi Bazu. Now, you find trouble, and you say you're not ready to look for trouble, but you stoke embers of bitterness. In fact, he has divided Abias along ethnicity. He has divided Abia along the rich Abia, the poor Abia, the new Abia, the old Abia, which is wrong. When you use that divisive policy to divide the people, when you're supposed to unite. So in Abia now, the level of political bitterness in Abia is nowhere found. You can't see it anywhere. Even in Kanu, that they had a bitter contestation. So he sells that kind of narrative. Now, who will believe if you didn't know the genesis of what even transpired? You will think Abure is one rogue chairman who just came from nowhere. You supported the Newi Convention. In fact, it was your deputy governor that declared Abure a winner, right?
Yes.
Now, when INEC refused to recognize him, he went to court naturally. Now, is it not proper for a man who is looking for peace to hold on to see the outcome of that case? Now, I'm not talking about Labour Party constitution. I'm talking about what we see as individuals before we even go. That's the morality of this matter. Before we even go about the constitutionality of the matter, the morality is a man who gave you tickets, a man who you begged and he surrendered a ticket to you, and you rode on his platform to become governor. There should be a relationship at least, not to ditch him at the point you think he has hit the rock. But thank goodness, the matter went to his favor. It was at that point they joined issues with Abure in court. Were they even supposed to join issues with their own party man?
No.
So what the Supreme Court did is go back to status quo. And what is the status quo? That judgment of the Supreme High Court that confirmed Abure, that High Court against INEC, is still standing. Nobody has moved that matter away. That is why if you go to INEC website, Abure is still there. It's been more than a month now. They submitted, they get crashed into INEC headquarters and submitted whatever they submitted. That man's name is still standing there. So if a man goes around looking for trouble, you were in Abga, you moved from Abga, you say you're not a politician, that you are you're in a different class. But it's just a normal, everyday politician who is overrated, who understands the use of social media.
All right.
That's just what we see there. Now, if the governor can account for the 700 billion, he can even just point at where his 6.5 billion recreational facility is. He can even scale back and say, okay, government is a continuum. I may not be able to pay the entitlements of these pensioners, but please, let me restore this to you. Any other governor, because he has highest 8 years or 4 years to stay.
4 years, yes. So
at the expression of his tenure, another governor like Peter Mba of Enugu, you know, Peter Mba came and cleared his. Every other governor has cleared whatever backlog because of the quantum of money they have today. But it's only in Abia, because we have somebody who feels he's smarter, that want to start converting exchange rates. Now that the exchange rate has eaten deep into whatever, but these people receive about 18 billion to 21 billion every month. And the salary exposure, let me give you this analysis. In this year's quarterly report, from January to March, the governor has received 84 billion naira. And his exposure, salary exposure, pension, and other personnel costs stood around 14 billion. In the same time, in 2022, Ibazu received 20 billion. And his salary exposure is about 9 billion. Do the math. There's still more. No matter how you do the conversion, for this other governor to play with, that is the result you see in Imo State, in Anambra State, in Enugu State.
All right.
But in Abia, they want you to believe that a 200-kilometer road should be blown out of proportion. A 200-meter road should be blown out of proportion and create a pseudo Abia up there. the reality is, the day you go to Abia, you understand what I'm telling you.
All right, so you've heard it. I think that it's time for us to start asking the most relevant question. I'm talking about the people of Abia State. They need to start asking for proof, evidence. Like we always say, now waiting we see, now we they believe. So I think that in these 2 years, we are waiting to see we being pointed to say, okay, this is the road, this is the building, this is the ICT hub, this is the health care, these are the people employed, are the people not employed. I think it's time for the people of Abia to start asking for physical proof of 2 years in office and all the monies spent. I think that would be the best way to solve this kind of situation, giving account of the billion we've been hearing, the 84, the government house, everything. I think it's time for the government and his people, the governor and his people rather, to start giving people pictures, videos where you can say, okay, you want to go make verification. I think if the people of Abia State are demanding for verification, proof of these things, maybe, just maybe, it will clear the governor of this kind of reputation. And thank you so much, Mr. Eric, for shedding light into this assessment. I think that you have given the people of Abia State more reasons to ask the relevant questions.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and it has been a great conversation. Don't forget that the conversation will be up on our YouTube, so you can always go back to it on our YouTube page. You can also follow us on our social media platform on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on X. And our website is always active 24 hours, www.rbnradiotv.com. I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with another amazing conversation and some of the big happenings right here in the country. But until then, my name is Cynthia Agbo. Do have yourself a pleasant day ahead.